Here's another video in my From To series. So this is from the wall to the floor. And you can see that I've started 3 raw canvases here. I like working in series. I'm just going to show you the one on the right. And I love the raw canvas. There's something about the quality of the raw canvas, even though in these early stages, when the paint or the fluid hits the canvas, it tends to stretch. You'll probably see that in this video. I still just love the way the raw canvas turns out. So at this point, I'm just putting on layers, I'm putting on paint, I'm getting a sense of the color palette that I may want to work with. But you can see in these 3 paintings, they're all quite different. So now I go a little bit more onto the one that I'm showing you in this particular series. There's quite earthy colors at this point. I'm quite liking the feelings of the greens and the rusty colors. It's feeling very earthy, but I'm not sure if it's going to stay here. And the reason why I like going from wall to floor is I love the drips that happen. I love the dripping, but it can be too much at a certain point. So I tend to like beginning more up on the wall or on the easel and then taking it to the floor. And at some points I might swap between. I won't in this process. I'm going directly from the wall to the floor. So you see me here bringing in some more of the dusky pinks, some more of the fluoro pink, just to add a little bit more life to some of the duller colors that I've got in the background. I quite often start with very, very bright colors. So this is a different beginning for me. I like experimenting to see what will happen if I start differently. And I'm putting in just shapes I can respond to. I'm not thinking too much ahead of the mark that I've just made. So this is a very light, almost ice teal color that I've put quite a bit of onto the palette, just balancing the light colors with some of the more duller colors in the background. But as I said, because it is the raw canvas, it does take a little bit more paint in these early layers to give the canvas a little bit more substance and to stop the canvas soaking the paint in. But I just love the effect it gets. And I don't like the paint to be too thick, so that's what I'm using the squeegee for. I'm just spreading the paint out a little bit. And now bringing a little bit more of these yellows, pops of yellows and gold, just to bring a little bit more life into the palette. Give me something more to respond to. Loving all the drips that are happening. Working very much across the whole painting. Oh, there we go. I've really decided to bring in some brightness. And again, I quite like doing that in the early layers so that it can form part of the background of the painting, because I know I am still in those early layers. And then balancing it with more pastel colors. Still using a little bit of that orange color in my pastel. So there's really nice cohesion across the entire palette and across the entire painting. So I'm not stepping back and looking at the painting from a whole perspective. I'm really just moving my eye around it and responding to areas that light me up. I haven't really taken into consideration composition at this point. And there's me using the squeegee, just getting any excess paint off the canvas and turning. I really suggest you turn your work a lot. It just gives you a whole different perspective. You can see new things, and I'm really enjoying this gold color that I'm bringing in now to give the painting fresh marks. So a fresh perspective at this point, and enjoying how it stands out against a lot of the pastel colours that have happened underneath. This is a little bit of oil pastel. It's quite a thick oil pastel in a mushroomy colour. I love the pastel in the early layers. It gives a whole different feeling to the painting. And you'll see now that I actually did jump ahead. It's now on the floor, and I did do a few layers that you didn't see. I actually forgot that the camera wasn't on, so I apologize for that, but you'll still see a lot of the painting forming now. I'm putting in some deeper colors, getting in some good contrast so that it's not all sitting in that mid-tone area. I've got some light lights and some dark darks. This is quite a nice deep brown, almost plum color that I'm bringing in to change the palette up quite a bit. So, you know, while I started with the palette that I did, I do see that is very early on, and I can send this painting in so many different directions. So now I'm bringing in lots of contrast to bring in composition. So I'm starting to think about composition at this point, and I'm starting to think about where do I want some areas to stand out. So you might see a grid appearing that will give you a little bit of an idea of how I think about composition. And I'm thinking about where do I want to put some focal points in my painting. And this 4 grid gives me an idea of that. I'm bringing in more strokes and more colors, but pretty much sticking to quite a consistent palette now with the neutrals and the pinks and then the darks. And there I've put in a lot more marks that you saw appear, and I have a little bit of a reference. I work on little paintings as a reference for bigger work, and you'll see me, I'll bring it alongside this piece as I'm creating to give you an idea of some inspiration I had of a direction I could send this painting into. So it's a loosely nature. There you go. There's lots happening on those little 6s that you can see there that I loved. Those big dark lines that I'm bringing in now are really coming from the work that you can see alongside. It's given me this feeling of energy that I wanted to bring into this piece, and also lots of contrast. So look at those beautiful big brown to black marks that I've made in a really nice loose way, and now bringing some pops of color in, really using that reference that I've got in those little pieces. But when I move from a little piece to a bigger piece, I change the tools that I'm working with, I change the amount of paint that I'm working with, but I want to still get the same energy that I've got in those little pieces. So just having it there as a reference really helps. And then bringing in the small stories, because there is lots of small stories on those little pieces. So I'm just bringing in little marks that you're going to see when you come close into the painting. So it's got a really lovely feeling about it now. I'm feeling pretty good about where it's sitting.